Have you ever felt, like you're just constantly juggling finances, trying to keep up with bills, save something maybe, and just make sense of it all?
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming.
Or maybe you've heard tons of advice, but you're still hunting for that one uh, foundational idea that really clicks.
Hmm.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into a book that, honestly, for millions, has been exactly that click. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
A classic, really.
Exactly. And our mission for you, our listener, isn't just to summarize it. We want to really pull out the most powerful nuggets of knowledge, explore that transformative perspective it offers,
Right.
and figure out why it's become such a cornerstone for so many people trying to get financially savvy.
And we absolutely will. What's really fascinating about Rich Dad, Poor Dad is how it's known not just for like giving information, but for fundamentally shifting how people think.
Yeah, the mindset part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It takes these concepts that can seem super complex, financial stuff,
Mhm.
and it boils them down into relatable, almost like startlingly clear life
Hmm?
lessons. So as we unpack it, we'll dig into its core ideas,
Yeah.
understand its real strengths in getting people to see money differently, and yet we'll also touch on some of the criticisms too.
Good. Yeah. Need that balance.
Definitely. So you get a truly balanced view. You'll understand not just what it says, but why it connects so strongly and maybe where its limits are.
Mhm.
It presents this really clear contrast that I think a lot of people find pretty eye-opening.
So, okay, let's start there then. The whole book is built around this powerful story, right? The financial philosophies of two very different mentors, Kiyosaki's two dads. It's more than just his personal story, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's the central metaphor.
Can you walk us through who these figures are? What do they represent in this kind of foundational narrative?
Sure. Kiyosaki very effectively contrasts these two figures. He calls one his poor dad and the other his rich dad. Now, neither is actually his biological father in the way you might think immediately.
Mm,
His poor dad represents the conventional wisdom, the path most of us are taught. This was his actual biological father, highly educated, a respected figure, head of education in Hawaii, I think.
right. Degrees and everything.
Exactly. Advanced degrees, respected job, but, and this is key, he consistently struggled with money his whole life.
Mm.
His philosophy was all about job security, saving diligently, working hard for that paycheck,
Mhm.
and really believing that a good education, formal education, was the ultimate key to financial stability. He'd say things like, go to school, get good grades, find a safe, secure job. Sound familiar?
Oh, yeah, incredibly familiar. That's the standard advice, right? So, if that's the poor dad's path, what about the rich dad? What was his radically different philosophy?
Well, the rich dad championed a completely different way of thinking. This was his best friend's father,
Hmm.
an entrepreneur who, despite lacking that formal higher education, actually became one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii.
Interesting contrast.
Huge contrast. His core philosophy is all about making money work for you rather than you just working for money.
Okay, that's the big shift.
That's the shift. He pushed the value of acquiring assets, making smart investments, owning businesses. Instead of security through a job, he emphasized financial independence through building and buying things that generate income.
Right.
He'd say things like, the rich don't work for money, money works for them. And this isn't just like a side story. It's the core teaching tool Kiyosaki uses. It highlights just how deeply our upbringing, our education shapes our attitudes and ultimately our strategies toward money.
Yeah.
It really pushes you, the listener, to think about what ingrained ideas might be holding you back.
It's fascinating how those two stories immediately create such a fundamental tension. And like you said, for a lot of people, the aha moment in this book comes down to how Kiyosaki redefines something we think we get, assets versus liabilities. How does his definition just flip things upside down?
This is absolutely central, yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably the most famous takeaway from the book, and it's where Kiyosaki's knack for radical simplification really shines.
Mm.
For him, it's incredibly simple, almost blunt. A true asset is anything that puts money into your pocket, period.
Puts money in. Got it.
And conversely, a liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. Simple as that,
Takes money out.
right? And here's where it gets provocative. He argues that many things we traditionally think of as assets, like, say, your main home.
Your house, yeah, everyone says that's your biggest asset.
Exactly. But Kiyosaki says it can actually function as a liability if it isn't generating income for you. I mean, think about it. A house usually comes with a mortgage payment,
Mhm.
property taxes, insurance, upkeep, repairs.
Constantly costing money.
It's constantly taking money out of your pocket. So in his definition, unless you're, say, renting out rooms or
Yep, that's
something,
liability. Wow. So it's not just about ownership, it's about the cash flow direction. That's a huge reframe.
it is a huge reframe. He argues that real wealth, sustainable wealth, comes from acquiring income-generating assets. Things like rental properties that bring in monthly cash, stocks that pay dividends, businesses that turn a profit, whether you're physically there or not.
Stuff that works for you.
Stuff that works for you, building that financial engine. The poor dad often accumulated liabilities, maybe thinking a fancy car or a bigger house, were signs of success, even if they drained his cash flow.
Right, keeping up appearances.
Maybe. While the rich dad focused relentlessly on buying those income-generating assets first, making sure they could pay for his lifestyle and fund even more asset purchases. So, for Kiyosaki, your car. Unless you're using it to earn money, like driving for Uber.
Liability.
It's a liability. Payments, insurance, gas, repairs.
Yeah.
It's taking money out. This whole concept encourages a fundamental shift. Stop just thinking about earning a paycheck. Start thinking about building a system that generates income, ideally, independently of you having to trade your time for it.
That is a monumental shift in perspective, especially if you spent your whole life focused on getting that next paycheck.
Mm.
But, I mean, how hard is it to actually do that? To make money work for you?
Yeah.
What's the biggest hurdle people face trying to adopt this rich dad mindset?
That's a great question. I think the biggest hurdle is often psychological. It's overcoming, decades of conditioning, maybe fear.
Yeah, fear of risk.
Fear of risk, fear of the unknown, fear of breaking away from the safe path. It really requires shifting from being primarily a consumer to being a producer or an investor, from prioritizing security above all else to taking calculated risks.
And giving up instant gratification.
Absolutely. Moving from instant gratification to focusing on long-term wealth building, so many people struggle to even see the difference between their job, where they work for money, and developing financial intelligence, making money work for them.
It's tough because it asks you to question things you might have learned from family, school, society. Deeply ingrained beliefs.
But, and this is the power of the book, once that mental switch flips for someone, it can be incredibly empowering.
Okay, so it's clear this book hits a chord. Its message has spread like wildfire. Beyond just redefining assets and liabilities, what are its main strengths? Why does it resonate so deeply with so many people?
Well, one of its biggest strengths, no doubt, is how relatable and actionable it feels.
Hmm.
Kiyosaki doesn't write like some finance professor using, tons of jargon.
Right, it's not a textbook.
Not at all. It's conversational. The storytelling approach, using those really vivid, contrasting examples of the two dads, it just connects with readers on a personal level. It feels accessible, almost like a friend letting you in on a big secret, not like some intimidating manual.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that narrative style, it motivates people to actually reconsider their own financial path because it feels like something they could maybe do, not just something for Wall Street types.
And that connects, doesn't it, to what many people feel is a big gap in our regular education, that lack of financial literacy.
Exactly. It has a really strong financial literacy focus that speaks directly to that void. The book powerfully highlights how little practical financial education most of us get in school.
It's almost shocking when you think about it.
It really is. So the book acts like a wake-up call. It basically says, hey, you need to take personal responsibility for learning about money. It encourages lifelong learning, developing practical investment skills, managing your money effectively.
Basics, really.
Fundamental basics, yeah. But often overlooked keys to actually achieving financial independence. And Kiyosaki makes them central. His message is kind of like, don't wait for the system to teach you this stuff. You got to go learn it yourself.
And there's more to it than just the how-to, right? There's that deeper, almost psychological shift it pushes for. It seems to get right at how people see their own role in the economy.
Yes, absolutely. That mindset shift is maybe its most profound impact. Kiyosaki's famous critique of the rat race. That cycle of working harder and harder just to pay the bills, maybe getting a small raise, but never really getting ahead financially.
Yeah, running faster but staying in the same place?
Precisely. That imagery is incredibly powerful. It inspires readers to shift away from what he calls the employee mindset, just trading time for money, and start thinking like an investor or a business owner.
Seeing opportunities differently.
Totally. And that mental shift is deeply empowering. It pushes people to take proactive control of their financial future instead of just passively hoping their job will provide security forever. It's realizing, maybe for the first time, hey, I can actually choose a different path. I can build something, not just earn.
It's that idea that you don't have to just accept the default settings for your life. You can actually design your financial future. That feels incredibly liberating.
It really is.
But okay, while it's hugely celebrated, no influential book is perfect, right? It has its critics. What are some of the common criticisms leveled against Rich Dad, Poor Dad? We need that balanced perspective.
Absolutely. And that brings up important points about, nuance and context. One common critique, and it's a fair one, is that the book sometimes offers simplistic advice.
Okay. How so?
Well, the narrative is very optimistic. It uses broad generalizations that might not fit everyone's situation perfectly. This is especially true, critics argue, for people starting with very limited resources or facing major systemic economic hurdles.
Like overwhelming debt or just living in a really expensive area?
Exactly. The advice to just go buy assets can sound, well, daunting, maybe even impossible for someone struggling with high-interest debt or living paycheck to paycheck where housing costs eat up everything. The book doesn't always deeply explore those varied starting points or the really complex economic realities many people face.
So it doesn't account for privilege or systemic barriers as much?
Some critics feel it overlooks those factors, yes. It's important to remember, it's not really presented as a one-size-fits-all magic bullet, and the specific examples like flipping houses easily might not translate directly for everyone, especially in different economic climates.
Okay, so it might ignite the spark, inspire that different way of thinking, but maybe not fully equip everyone with the immediate practical tools or strategies tailored to their specific, maybe difficult circumstances. Is it more philosophy than a detailed roadmap?
That leads right into the next key criticism,
Yeah.
its perceived lack of technical detail. While the book is brilliant at delivering those powerful foundational principles like the whole asset versus liability mind shift we talked about,
Yeah, the core concept.
right, but it generally offers less in terms of substantive step-by-step how-to guidance, the real nitty-gritty on executing specific investment strategies, navigating the complexities of starting a business, or managing financial risks in detail.
So it gives you the why and the what, but maybe not enough of the how.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It provides the vision, the mental framework, which is huge, but it's often less of a detailed instruction manual. It's like being shown a map of an exciting new territory, but not given detailed directions for every road or potential pitfall. They can leave some readers, especially those new to investing, feeling a bit lost when it comes to the practical next steps.
Okay, so pulling this all together then, what does this mean for someone listening who's thinking about their finances, maybe considering picking up the book? What's the bottom line here?
Well, I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad is best understood and celebrated as a really powerful mindset-changing resource, especially for financial beginners. Its greatest value truly lies in its ability to inspire readers to think differently.
That seems to be the recurring theme.
It is. It pushes you to prioritize building assets, not just earning more, to question the conventional financial advice you've always heard, and critically, to take charge of your own financial education, often outside of formal schooling. It's a fantastic motivational tool for shifting your whole attitude towards money and encouraging that proactive approach to building wealth, especially if these ideas are new to you.
It really does sound like a fantastic starting point then for people who are ready to engage with their finances in a new way, looking for that initial spark, that catalyst for change, like it could be the first domino to fall.
Indeed. I think that's spot on. For you, the listener, if you're feeling ready to take more responsibility for your financial future and maybe rethink some of your everyday money habits, our deep dive hopefully shows that Rich Dad, Poor Dad can be genuinely enlightening, potentially even life-changing for some.
But with a caveat.
But with the important caveat, yeah. As the critiques suggest, its core lessons are most powerful when you see them as a foundation. You'll likely need to supplement them with more comprehensive technical resources on specific investment strategies, business execution, risk management, and so on. It brilliantly opens the door and shows you what's possible.
But you still need to learn how to navigate the rooms inside.
Exactly. You'll need other keys and guides to really explore that new territory safely and effectively.
Okay, so a final thought for our listener then. If your current financial path feels a bit like that rat race, what's one piece of conventional financial wisdom? Maybe something your own poor dad voice tells you that you're now willing to question, just like the rich dad encouraged. And how might simply questioning that one thing open up new possibilities for your financial future?
That's a great question to ponder. We really hope this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad has given you not just information, but maybe a fresh perspective to carry forward. perhaps even encourage you to pause and reflect on your own definitions of assets and liabilities as you go about your daily life.